I could tell myself to relax it. Will be better next time I try. And even if I still can't do it, yeah, you know that I'm gonna stick to it. Yes, it's all about going through it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Whoopsie, whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see, I'm better at this today. Woo! Whoopsies, whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsies.
I'm a little embarrassed when I look at my drawing compared to this. I'm just not getting anywhere with this. It makes me wanna hide. Aw, don't be embarrassed. Don't hide.
You should have seen mine the first time I tried. It took a lot of whoopsies to look this way.
No one's perfect on their first day. Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay.
It's okay. Whoopsies are what it takes to get better and better every day. Whoopsie, 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 whoopsie.
Well, what about this? I want to jump rope, but nope, I just can't do it.
Well, not yet. Come on and practice with me. You'll see there's nothing to it.
Whoa! Whoopsie.
Whoopsies, I made a mistake and it's okay. It's okay. Whoopsies, help me look, see, I'm better at this today. Woo!
It was only a dream, the waves of evil crashing overhead. It was only a weak and faithful scream beneath the battlements. I know it's hard, we're falling off, the fight's too long. Wake up, my love, please don't give up on me. It's hard. Wake up.
What is up? What is up, you guys? We are back at it again. Where is my volume thing? There we go. We are back at it again. Finally, programming. That's what you guys are all here for anyways, right? Actually learning programming. Oh, we're about to get into that. And you're going to have fun, but also you're going to regret wanting this, alright? This is where things start getting difficult because you're going to have to start proving yourself. Before, it's pretty much just, you know, memorization, learning things. I mean, we all can pretty much nail down a flashcard pile soon enough, you know. But this is what will show the weak from the strong. Alright, you guys excited? I know I'm excited. So sweet, let's get into this. So before I jump into the normal intro, I need you guys to install some stuff if you haven't already installed these things. So I'm gonna go and throw some links into the stream chat here. And please forgive me because I am sick. If you can't tell by how I sound right now, there we go. I'm sick, so please forgive me if I am coughing or, I don't know, doing other sickly things, alright? Oh, is the green screen? There we go. Let me pull over the green screen a little bit on this side. There we go. Alright, so I need you guys to download Python first and foremost. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and show the link here. We'll throw it in this chat, and I'm going to throw it in the other chat. On top of that, so before going any further, Python is one of many different programming languages out in the world. Each programming language has its niche. It has what it's really good at, what people use it for. Python overall is pretty good universal, but it is very slow compared relative to other languages, all right? Things like JavaScript was invented for the main purpose of web development, running on someone's browser, all right? Why is the lo-fi music not coming through? Is it? Oh, it's just really quiet. There we go. But it's meant for web development. So if you want to do web development, then you learn something like JavaScript. Java was first, which is different than JavaScript, was first introduced as the first programming language that was really write once, works everywhere. Because you could write it once and it had a little, it's called the JVM, the Java Virtual Machine, that you would install on every operating system, mobile phones, embedded devices, and it would just work and it would just run. There wasn't extra stuff you would have to do or exporting or compiling. We'll get into more of that stuff later if that's foreign to you. C/C++ pretty much built the world as you know it. Just about every operating system is built using C/C++ and assembly. That's currently changing in preference for newer languages, which are the newer versions of C/C++, which would be things like Rust and Go. Golang has found its niche really well in the software development community, so not running operating systems, but software and tools. It's vastly replacing Java as what is used for server infrastructure software. And Rust is being used widely right now in operating systems like Linux. It is officially the new language for Linux. That just became a thing, I don't know, like 6 months ago or so. So we're going to start off with Python because it is one of the most universally used language. It's pretty much it's a general language, so it's pretty much capable of doing anything you want. Making games, doing machine learning, making full-on software products for your servers, etc., etc. You're not going to be making an operating system with this though. But pretty much everything else you can do. And support for it is very wide because Python is pretty much it's pretty much C C++, except it's a little wrapper on top of it to make things very easy to do. But under the hood, everything's being written in RAN and C/C++, and we'll get more into that later. Don't worry about it. So after you're done downloading this, I need you to download Visual Studio Code. All right, Visual Studio Code is going to be our text editor. I'm gonna put this in the link or in the chat. My bad. So there are many different types of text editors, all right? Just like there's many different types of companies that produce drills, all right, and other hardware tools. At the end of the day, they are all just tools that will do the exact same thing. It's up to you on which one you want. VS Code is one of the most popular ones currently, but in the developer community, it seems like every 3 to 4 years, everyone will switch to a different text editor. Before I started using Visual Studio Code heavily, I was using an editor called Atom. If you want to use Atom, you can use Atom. Before that, Sublime. Before that, Notepad++. And before that, I don't think there was anything else before that. But people change their mind all the time. Why did they change their mind and come to this one? Well, you'll see in a second. So go ahead and just download that and go and install it on your computer. And if you guys are good and you have it installed, go ahead and drop a little chat in the chat saying that, hey, you're good, you're ready to rock and roll, and then we'll move forward with some additions here. So in the meanwhile, while you guys are setting that up, we'll have some more little story time here. I have Python 3.8. Is that okay? Yes. If you have Python 3.8, 3.9, 3.10, or 3.11, oh, 11 actually got released, you're fine. All this is going to work across all different versions. We're not going to be getting into the little things that they added on between those major versions. So in the programming world, you'll notice this dot notation for versions, all right? This dot notation for versions signifies several different things. The first big number is going to be the actual release. What's the actual terms? Let me see here. Software version, would it be numbering? Yeah, here we go. So, bigger picture, please. We can do this one. I like this one. So the first number is going to be the major release. What a major release means is if you have a new major release, an incrementing major release number, you should expect that everything that you've built with the previous major release will no longer work, will no longer be compatible with the newer version. This goes for not just programming languages, but software in general. So any software you're messing with, whether that's Word, Google Chrome, Photo app, Photoshop, etc. So major means that there's major changes that will break things from the previous version if you're trying to bring them over. So you'll have to either tweak them if you're bringing them over to the new major release, or build them from the ground up. Minor releases means that there were some significant changes, but they shouldn't break anything you've currently been doing. All right? And then patch is going to be super minor. Typically, it's going to be for fixing bugs. So anytime there's been some bugs found in a minor release, they'll release patches to fix those bugs. The only thing that you're going to be losing out on patches is going to be stability. And for minor releases is going to be improvements, all right, new features. All right, I see one installed. We'll wait for a couple people to also respond first before moving along here. I should change this to live chat. I don't know why it doesn't default to live chat. So important thing to know here. Let's see. So, as a developer, you have sweet. I got another already installed. Perfect. So we're gonna chug along here after I say my last 2 cents here. But as a developer, do you recommend make any shortcuts for VS Code? I personally don't, but you can do whatever you want. We'll talk more about that here in a second. But the developer, as a developer, you require tools. All right, just like any other job will require tools. All right, your tools are going to be a good chair. All right, you're gonna want a good chair, not the gaming chairs. The gaming chairs are not meant for business settings. All right, when you are programming, that's a business settings. But guess what? The business chairs also work well for gaming. But you need a good chair because there are health risks at being a developer. You're sitting all day. And your back will usually start to hunch. So you'll usually have back issues. I know, sounds, oh, poor developer. Guess what? It happens. All right. Additionally, carpal tunnel is a health risk. Also, you're sitting all day, so getting blood clots is in your legs is a thing. So usually devs will set up timers or some other indicator to let them know, hey, it's time to get up and start moving around, walk a little bit, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups. Highly encouraged for you to do that. Do not be a stereotypical fat, lazy dev in their mom's basement. All right, get up every once in a while, do some push-ups, do some sit-ups. I know I need to do that more often. Usually what will happen is you'll get into the zone and you'll forget time exists, and next thing you know, you've warped 3 hours into the future. But it's good to get that, get some physical fitness in here and there. I'm not saying anything strenuous, but get the blood pumping a little bit, or else you will run into health issues. It's inevitable. All right. So once you download VS Code, that's what we're going to be using. So VS Code is a text editor. So all its job is to be like Notepad in Windows. So if I open up Notepad is a simple, crappy text editor, but it is a text editor. VS Code is the exact same way. It's a very fancy text editor that will allow you to be more powerful as a dev. It comes with a bunch of luxury features pre-built in, which are super awesome. But better than that, which makes VS Code really win out, is VS Code has a massive community and the ability for extensions. Atom also had the ability for extensions, but the community was large, but it never got as large as VS Code. So that's why it's currently recommended. Usually going with the crowd on things in the developer world is sometimes the best, because you're going to get the best support. So on the side here, you'll see a bunch of little icons. You may not see all the same icons as me, and that's okay. But you will see these first ones right here. Particularly this one with all the blocks is called extensions. I would like you guys to click on that extensions area. This will let you get access to the extensions market. Go ahead in here and type in Python. When you type in Python, it will be this first one by Microsoft. So if you see here, it will say Python on the top, and it will say Microsoft with a little checkbox right here. Click on that, and then there's going to be a button here for install. Go ahead and install that. This is most likely going to install when you first load up a Python file. Anyways, you'll see little boxes here in the oh, I'm over in the oh god, right here. All right, you'll see boxes pop up right here where all the graphics are blocking. In regards to it trying to install extensions to help out. So once you install that one, there's one more before moving forward I need you guys to install, because the default look of the folders in VS Code is true cancer. It is truly terrible. I don't understand how such a large crime can be committed. So let's go ahead and there we go, that's what it's called. So type in material icon, and it should be this first thing that pops up. Material icon theme. It will have this little blue folder icon. It's by Phillips Keefe. Now, you can change this to whatever theme you want to use. Just please don't use the default theme, or else I will find you and I will change your settings for you. All right. But go ahead and install this, and after you install it, this one's a two-step process. You have to click on install. Once it's installed, then you're going to have to, there will be sometimes an auto pop-up that shows up and asks you if you want to set it as your theme. Make sure you set the material icon theme. If it doesn't show up, there's a button here for set file icon theme. Go in and just click on that, and you see I'll get this drop down, material icon theme, and click on that and get material icon theme going on. It's going to make everything way more readable and understandable. Now, if you don't have access to these tools or you're running on Chrome OS, that's fine. You can use Replit, which we've already talked about before. I'll bring it back here. Replit. So you can go on here and make an account and program in Python in here. I'll go and paste this in the chat. Replit is pretty decent. It's not as powerful as what we're gonna have here, but it will get you by the course. Don't worry. All right, we all set up. Any questions on that? Anyone confused? So next, feel free to drop in your questions at any time. So next, we're gonna click on File here at the top, and we're gonna go ahead and open a folder. All right. When you open a folder, this is where find a folder that's going to be where you want to keep all your code. So I made a folder here earlier on desktop called 100 Days of Code. So I'm going to just click on that and click select folder, and you'll see the editor change and show this. Whenever you get this box popping up, just click on yes, I trust. And now you should have a layout that kind of looks like this. It may not have all the same information, but it should be kind of like this. Yes. So while you guys are catching up there, I'm going to go ahead and run through the normal jam. If you guys don't know, we are Rootkit, a nonprofit based here in the US of A. We have a problem with doing things for free, aka this class, which usually costs people $20K, or if you go to college, $100,000, but we're doing it for free because we hate money, I guess, but we really need money to live. This is not sustainable. It's very expensive to do things for free. But digging ourselves a bigger hole, if you go over to our site and click on blog, on week 5, we have our giveaway, which I believe just ended. Which we're going to pull the winner of this tomorrow. Our week 6 giveaway will start at the end of today's stream, so make sure you hop on over here and enter the giveaway. All you have to do is do basic things like subscribe to the channel, Twitch channel, etc., and you'll get free points and points for entry. If you like what we're doing and you have some cash to spare, we have our donation link right here. So I'm going to go ahead and paste these. And depending on how much you donate, you'll unlock certain rewards, like our stickers, this epic collab t-shirt right here that I got on, and our awesome exclusive sweater. All donations are being matched 1-for-1 for the first 10,000. And we had another donor come in yesterday, Clutch. Thank you very much. What was the name? Descernas, I believe so. Thank you so much for that donation. It was some guy that we were helping on our Discord stream. Please donate if you can, because it helps us keep doing the things that we're doing. This does not last forever if we don't get money. Now, at certain goals, like at 6K, where we will be streaming for 24 hours straight. At 10, shaving my head here live on stream. And at 20,000, the one I encourage you guys not to get to, because we don't need to get that one. That's a little excessive, right? You know, shaving my beard here on stream live. No one wants to see that, all right? This is too much. All right, let's move on here, shall we? So, questions. Kamal, you can just head over to Replit because I believe you're on Chrome OS, and you should be good for us. And we shall continue forward, just looking through everything else. Yep. All right, sweet. So, Congratulations, you fully set up your tool. There's not much else you need here. VS Code is pretty much an all-in-one toolkit. Its features have grown quite extensively. Now, over here on the side, so this top icon is going to be your Explorer. This is how you can view all of the files that are in the folder that you selected. Right now I have nothing in here, so nothing shows up. You may have something showing up if you have files in there. If I click this icon again, you'll see that it will take away that sidebar. If I click it open, I'll get it back open. I can close pages that are open here, so it'll be kind of like tabs in Chrome that show up here along the top. There's also some useful tools and features right here in the center of the screen that you can utilize. Specifically, toggling the terminal is very, very important. So holding Control and then tilde is right below the escape, will bring up your terminal. This terminal right here on the side, it will, am I blocking it? Hold on. Let me like move myself a little. Whoops, that's the wrong one. There we go. There we go. So over here on the side, you're going to see the words PowerShell, because that's what type of terminal is running right here. The plus icon here will let you change what terminal it is or get new terminal sessions. So if I click plus, I'll get another PowerShell terminal, and you'll see these show up here on the side. If I click on the down arrow, I can choose between different types of terminals based off what you have configured on your computer. Mine will look most likely different than yours. All right. We're going to get into Git here in the coming days, but not at first. So you can choose here whether you want your command prompt, PowerShell, or something like Ubuntu, or whatever you want. I recommend just going with PowerShell, all right, since we are on a Windows computer. So sweet, we got the terminal open here. I'm going to go ahead and bring this a little bit down, a little bit smaller, and we're pretty much ready to go. So on the side here, when you hover, you'll see several different icons. This first one is going to be for a new file. So if you want to make a new file, you can click that. The next one is for a new folder. The next one is for refreshing. And the last one is going to be for collapsing this Explorer. All right, that's the same thing before as I showed. Never mind, I think that's, sorry, collapsing folders in the Explorer, which we don't have any folders in here, so you can't really see it. Additionally, if you right click in here, you'll get various different options that you can utilize, like making a new file. So I'm going to go and make a new file. Now, whenever we're programming in Python, our files are going to end in .py. .py is an indication that it is a Python file. All right. Now, it's tradition to call the main file in your program in Python main. So we're going to go ahead and name this main.py. It is not a requirement. You do not have to do that. You can name this anything you want, but we're going to go with main.py so it's not confusing. This is the main file for our program here. Once you get that, you'll see that you have a nice little text editor going here. And if I press enter a bunch, you're going to see on the side here that there's numbers that show up. These numbers are the line numbers that that are corresponding with which line you are on. I believe you should have them by default. If you don't, let me know in the chat and I'll see if I can find some instructions on how to turn them on. But they should be on by default. So these are very, very important. They need to be on. This is how you go about debugging. If someone tells you there's an issue on line 12, you can look right here on the side and you can be like, line 12, line 12. Oh, there's line 12. There's the issue. All right. Any questions so far? Now, programming languages are not equivalent to human languages. Spanish, English, and French are completely different, and there's very little compatibility between all of them. Programming languages are way better though. If you know one language, you know them all. All right? Every language is pretty much exactly the same. There are small little tweaks here and there, but the syntax in general and the tools that you have at your exposure are going to be exactly the same. All right? So we're going to start with Python, and when we move to C, it should be really easy or easier for you to pick up because you're going to learn all of the concepts about C first in Python and they're pretty much directly translatable. So if you're applying for a job that requires you to be proficient in a language you have very little experience in, does not matter. You can learn it. It's all about you and what you're able to do. Again, reinforcing what we've talked about many times before. It's about you, your ability, how you Google stuff, search things, and find things out, all right? And how good your copy and pasta skills are, all right? We need to be Italian up in here, all right? We need to be making the best copy and pasta, all right? So channel your inner Italian. You're not Italian at all? Trust me, you're Italian now. All right, so in Python, we have these things called functions. Well, in programming in general, we have these things called functions, and I've talked about functions before. Functions are like actions. For example, if I go take a walk, that is an action I can take. If I go sleep, that's an action I can take. If I go cook some food, that is an action I can take. You can do the exact same thing in programming. These are called functions. Why are they called functions? Because math, that's why. Don't worry. I said the forbidden word. Don't get freaked out. We're not doing no math today. But that's where the term comes from. All right. So let's go ahead and learn our first function in Python. We learned about the CLI. Here it is right here. We want to print something out onto the CLI, aka have some text show up. Oh, where's all the pretty graphics? XYZ, why is it not all graphically pleasant? Well, we talked about this already. GUIs are expensive and a pain in the ass for a developer to make. Most developers will not waste their time with it, and neither will you at first. We are going to be doing everything in the CLI because it's easy. How easy? Let's figure out. If we want to print something in the CLI in Python, we will type the action, aka the function, print. I know, very difficult. Python is a rough language to learn, but I think you guys will get through it. Let me zoom in here a little bit more. All right, you'll see as you type, these things will show up below you in your text editor. Your text editor is great. It's your best friend. It's very, very smart and wants to help you program and be the best dev you can. So anytime while you are typing, you can, so if I, type in PR here, I'll see a bunch of things that are basically trying to autofill what I'm doing. If you want to navigate through these, use this hand and press the up and down arrow keys. Please, for the love of God, do not use your mouse. You are a dev now, so you try to do things as easy, efficiently, and lazily as you can. All right? We don't do the mouse. We don't move around the mouse or find things and scroll on things and look for things. All right? We use the keys on the keyboard. So up and down, you can scroll through. If for some reason you don't have the arrow keys, I'll make an exception for using the mouse for you. If you find something you want, all right, we want this print here at the top, you can press the tab key for autofilling. Remember the tab key from PowerShell, command prompt, and the bash terminal we talked about? It did autofilling there. We get autofilling here. Because we're devs, we're lazy. Why do I want to type more characters? I just have it autofill. So this is the action we're going to take. Now, when a file is not saved, we're going to see right here, if I hover over it, it will turn into the X, which is how we can close this tab out. But you'll see this little white circle. All right, you guys see this white circle? It's right up. Hold on. Let me put myself right there. We go. Wait. Oh, there we go. Right there. That naughty little white circle. All right. You as a dev, for the love of God, save often. You're in dev territory now, so these tools are going to be more unstable than usual. Why? That's just how it is. All right, you're doing some crazy stuff. You're a dev now. You get to see the raw world. So save often. How do we save as a dev? We use shortcuts. All right, I don't want to see you going up here, clicking on file, going down to save and clicking on save. You see this right beside save? That's the shortcut. Control S. All right, Control S is how you can save. Press that and you'll see that white dot has now gone away from that tab and we have saved the file. For the love of God, do Control S. All right, don't find me catching you slipping up. All right, or else I will tape your hands to your keyboard. It won't be a pleasant experience for you. All right. Sweet. So we have our print here, but this is not everything we need. A function in Python also requires one additional thing at the end, and that's going to be parentheses. All right, parentheses are how you finally indicate this function needs to take place, that it wants to be activated. We want to activate this. All right, so we're going to go ahead and save that. And no, Replit does not cost money. And yes, some of these are threats. I am mildly threatening you. All right, you don't like it, report me. All right. All right. So print. Inside of print, we can put some strings. Remember strings from our data section? We can put strings in here that we want to get printed out. We can also put integers, floating point numbers, etc., in here that we want to print out. So let's go ahead. I'll explain this more, but if you use double quotes or single quotes, does not matter. You can do either or. I would recommend doing double quotes. You'll run into less issues if you do this. Put double quotes in there. That's how you make a string. Then we can type in hello rootkit in here. All right. And then you're done. Go and save that. We're not doing hello world. If any of you guys have done hello world, guess what? You're cool. We're not doing hello world. This is rootkit. We're better than that. All right. Hello world is for normies. It's for the college system. We're rootkit. So say hello rootkit, and now you're ready to run your first program. That's it. You have completed an entire application inside of Python. I know programming's rough. I don't know if you guys will make it through this one. That was a lot of work already. So let's actually run this thing and see all the glory of your program and what it's capable of. There are like 10 different ways you can run your program in VS Code. One is pressing the F5 key. F5 is a shortcut for if you go up to the tab here, click on run, and right here, start with debugging. F5. F5 is short for this. You can also click this box here. But like I said, if I find you catching your mouse, I'm going to tape your hands to the damn keyboard. All right. Next is going to be this play button right here on the side. Let me move myself up right there. That play button right there. You can also press. Additionally, my preferred method is clicking down here to the terminal and then manually typing things out. If you type in Python, so by default your terminal will be in the folder you selected. So if I go ahead and do an ls here, you're going to see that that file that I made is already in here. All right, because we're going to be using relative paths in this next command on how we're going to execute it. I'm going to say Python, which is the program I want to run, and I'm going to say the file I want to execute, which is going to be main.py. All right, and then you can just press enter and that will run that. So I'm going to go and press enter, and you'll see my program has successfully executed. And on the line below, we see the text hello rootkit. You can get the same functionality again if you press this play button here, which I just did, and you can see it printed. There may be some extra crap that shows up. That's fine. The big thing is what shows up right here. If I press F5, it will bring up this menu. Just say that, hey, we are using a Python file, and then it will auto run for you. More crap will print out, but then it will say hello rootkit. Or I can click on run and click on start without debugging. No, start debugging, and it will also print out. There's this tool called debugging built into VS Code, which we'll get into later. Don't worry about that. Any questions on that? Were you guys able to successfully run your application here in Python? Go ahead and just drop a hell yeah or a hell no in the chat if you were able to get things running or not. And then we'll go ahead and move. Yes, everything that we're going to be doing will work on Replit, so you can go ahead and use Replit. It is completely free. You can just go on there and sign up. So for Replit, if I go to Replit's site and I click on login or sign up, I can click on login with Google. Bam, I'm already logged in. Once you're logged in, you can click on the big button right here called create. Big button here called create. Go and click on that. I want to create Python. There's Python. I'll click on that and then I can give it a title. It already has a title that's pre-made for me. I'll just go with that one. I'm gonna click on create replit and bam, it's now created. This is it. This is where you need to be. It's kind of similar to the layout as VS Code. So right here is going to be our files. So main.py is what we need to edit. And so right here is where we can start typing in our code. We'll say print hello rootkit. There's a big button on top for run. If I click on run, you'll see on the console here on the side that we will get our output printed. And why unexpected indent? So that means there's an indent at the front, which there was. So let me go ahead and delete that and we'll rerun it and it works. So that's Replit. Alrighty. Yes, but not with the terminal Python command. It says Python was not found. I don't know why, but I'm too lazy to fix it. So if your Python, by typing in Python here, was not found after you installed it, it means that you didn't add it to your path. We have a video on our YouTube channel on how to fix that. I highly recommend you watching it. But it's okay if that is the fact, because like you figured out, if you press F5 or this play button, you'll be fine and it will run. So why that's happening is VS Code will auto detect what version of Python you want to use, and we'll find that path right here at the, let me move this. There we go. Move myself down here. What, right? There we go, right there. That's what, when you press F5, that's what's going to be used. All right, that right there. Not whatever you have set as your main version by default on your operating system. That doesn't matter. This is all that matters on VS Code. So if you ever want to change your version, you're going to just click on it. And up here at the top, this is where you're going to see all the different versions of Python you may have. You may only have one. That's fine. And then you can change the version of Python that you have to what you want it to be. All right. Any questions on that? I'm going to keep it at 11. Now I got to fix all this stuff. Any questions on that? I see how you're feeling. I feel that way sometimes too. All right, let's go ahead and move on here because I don't see any other questions or concerns so far. So let's go ahead and move on a little bit. Print is an action that you can take. Whatcha? Actions will only be taken when you put the parentheses at the end of it. So I'm going to start using the actual proper terminology here. Functions. They're called functions. Think functions, think actions. These functions will only act upon what they're supposed to do when you have the parentheses at the end of them. All right, these parentheses will activate them. Additionally, VS Code is really, really nice. If you hover over it, you'll see the help menu. It's basically the man page for this function. And you'll see here various things that you can set. All right. The big thing is anything you put right here is going to get printed to the screen. Let's see. I'm way far too behind now. I'll just have to watch for now on and then go back later. You have the break also where you can catch up. I highly recommend using YouTube over Twitch for this main reason, because YouTube is superior and we like YouTube more than Twitch. Also, most of the people are over on YouTube partying over there. All right. Let's see here. So this is called a string. We talked about some of these things before, and let's go ahead and run through them. Another math term, variables. Oh, my weakness. Get over yourself. All right, they're easy. Variables, which we have a video on our YouTube page, are just placeholders for some other value. It's just a placeholder. You can call this placeholder whatever you want. Does not matter. You want to call it your mama? Cool, your mama. You want to call it Blaze It 420? Cool, you're funny. All right. These are variables. These are how you make variables. As you see, it's not happy with me right now. It has a yellow underline underneath. It means that we have a current syntax issue. And if you hover over it, you'll see that it's saying that it's not defined. Why is it not defined? Because we've made the placeholder, but we haven't said what its value it's holding, in general. So how we can assign a value to the placeholder is going to be using the assignment operator, which is fancy terms for the equal sign. There you go. Let's go and put an equal sign on both of these. And you'll see they've changed colors because VS Code is a fancy text editor. So it knows that even though you can't really see pretty pictures when you're running your stuff, it's going to give you as much visual, sexy feedback as it can. All right. It's going to give you that nice little blue color for your variables. All right. And yeah, if you see, if I hover over this, it's going to say that it's a variable, your mama. And the any is the type. We'll talk about the type here in a second. Then we can put whatever data we want inside of it. We talked about the different data types before. We talked about how there's strings, how there's numbers like integers and floating point numbers, and we didn't talk about it as much, but there's also things like arrays that we can use. So let's go ahead and go through all the different types of numbers or variable types that you can have in Python. So variable types. So what I did here is made this, this is called a comment. So if you do the £, or for you younger folks, the hashtag at the beginning, you can be hashtag free from executing this line of code. What does that mean? This is a comment. It's purely for humans to read it. It will not be interacted with at all when you run the program. All right, let me see here. I don't understand that. Not shaving until learn Python. I feel it. I feel it. All right, so let's go ahead and give these some types. So what are some of the types we can have? We can have integers. What are integers? Whole numbers. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Whole number. We can have floating points. Remember what that is? Numbers with decimal points. All right, bam, we've just made some variables here. We can make lots of things into variables. So we can say, I'm going to be less creative with my names now. I'm going to do my cool string. And that's going to be equal to a string. What is a string? Using double quotes or single quotes will make a string. A string could have nothing in it, or you can have plenty of text in it. This is going to be a Unicode encoded string. So what does that mean? Well, not encoded, but it's capable of using Unicode characters. What does this mean? Well, we can go ahead and get our little happy emoji, and we can go in and grab that and put it into the string, and it will work just fine. It is valid. It is 100% valid. Additionally, in Python, we have things called lists. You ever make a grocery list before? Yeah, this is what this is. This is just a list, except instead of you using bullet points, you're going to use brackets for the list, and then inside of that, you're going to list everything with commas. So a comma delimited list, that means there's commas between everything. And then you can say, I want some potatoes. I don't think I spelled that right, but I don't care. Hot dogs and pizza. There we go. Some good old pizza. Lists in Python are cool. What does that mean? Why are they cool? Because you can put more than just one type of variable in a list in Python. This is not the case for other languages. What does that mean? I can put the number 420 in here, 69, and 3.14, and it will work just fine. It is 100% valid. Again, this is not the case for other languages, but it is for Python. And this is going to be called a list. Other programming languages will call this an array. If I call this an array, know that I'm talking about a list. All right. Why are they called different? Because everyone wants to use their own naming scheme. All right. Let's see here. So we got numbers, floating points, strings, lists. There's a special type of list, all right, called my cool tuple. All right. So if we make a tuple, it's just like a list, except instead of using the instead of using brackets, you're going to use parentheses instead. Parentheses. What is a tuple? It's just like a list, except you can't change it. It's immutable. All right. It's unchangeable. You can never remove, add to, or edit any of the items inside of it. All right. So it may not be that often when you use them, but they're here just in case you're interested. Let's see, what other types of data do we have that we're going to talk about right now? Dictionaries. So Wikipedia. All right, we're going to make ourselves a Wikipedia here. And how you make a dictionary are going to be your curly braces. All right. Now, moving forward, Python is, as you see here, if you've ever looked at or messed with another programming language, there are no semicolons in Python. There are no other type of weird syntax in Python. You can pretty much just type away. It is white space sensitive though. All right. What is white space sensitivity? Well, it's nothing about race. Don't worry about that. But what it is the spaces and tabbing that you do matter. All right. Spacing and tabbing matter in Python, specifically at the beginning of a line. So I put everything here on the same line, which you can do, but sometimes, you know, we're in the beginner mode here, right? We're just learning about these things. It might be a little confusing to see them all on the same line. So you can break them out, all right? So if we press enter after each one of these terms here, it should, VS Code should automatically tab them for you, which means that they're already white space, it's already in a white space appropriate, Python appropriate template. If we run this program, we'll see that we get no errors, which means that Python is happy and it's not yelling at us. So maybe this is a little bit easier for you to see your list. Instead of having bullet points, you have them laid out like this. It's totally up to you. It's more compressed when you do it on one line, but you could do it entered like this. Let's see. Size of that variable is unrealistically small. I must have missed on what that was for. So brackets were supposed to be used with lists. Yes, brackets are for lists. Parentheses are for tuples, and curly brackets, these guys, are going to be for dictionaries, which we're about to get into here in a second. Do capitalizations matter? No. We'll talk more about that here in a second, particularly on how you should be naming everything. But don't worry about that too much. Just don't start anything with a number, right? If you don't start anything with a number, you'll be fine. Let's see here. Yeah, the wraps. If you wrap a list, comma separated variable, yeah, case sensitive. That was your mama joke. Oh. Dang. I got out joked in the chat. Let's see. You're going kind of fast. Yeah, you're good. We're chilling right now, letting you guys catch up a little bit. Right now, we talked about data types before, and we're just revisiting them. All right, and adding a couple new items here that are kind of specific to Python, kind of not. So let's talk about this dictionary thing. Dictionaries are like fancy lists, all right? Instead of you being like, I want the first item in the list, or the second item in the list, or the third item in the list, and so on and so forth, you can actually put placeholders or bookmarks per se. So when you say the item carrot, you'll see a recipe for a carrot soup or something. I don't know what type of food you're into. I don't eat carrot soup, but maybe you, and you put it in here. All right. So how do we go about making a dictionary? Very similar to a list. All right. I'm going to go and press enter to kind of space this out. So it kind of looks a little bit nicer, but again, you can do this all on the same line, and that's usually how you'll find it. So what you do here is it has a template of a key and a value. So the key is going to be how you want to search it up. You could say, if you want, like the first item, the second item, and so forth if you want, or you can do something else, like for example, Wikipedia. I want to get a Wikipedia article. I'm going to look for, I don't know, Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. All right, don't add a space. Spaces will stay away from spaces right now. We'll talk about it more in a second. And then here we're now going to quote unquote deliver the definition of Mickey Mouse, or the Wikipedia page for it. A little demon who haunts children in their sleep. Yeah, sleep. I used the right there, right? All right. Awesome. I think that's pretty accurate. If we want to add a new one, we're going to put a comma at the end. All right. Remember, key values. All right, key values. So let's go ahead and do something else. I don't know. Hot dogs. Oh, so good. Oh, so bad for your health. As all things should be. All right, sweet. So now we made a dictionary with 2 items in it. Not a very big dictionary, but big enough for our needs. Any questions so far? So now when you hover over your variable, you're going to see some additional information here. Let me move my little head right here. So when we hover over, you're going to see, I'm going to do it for the floating point number. You'll see that it says float right there, because that's the type of data that it is underneath the hood. For some of these other ones, it will work like it says this is a list. And I don't know if you guys can see that because it's hidden for me. That one kind of works, but you'll see for some of these other ones, it's not really working as well. Don't worry, it's still an integer. If I move over to the side like this, if we hover over Wikipedia, you can see it's a dictionary. Oh, there we go. It's a dictionary and it has string. What that is saying is there's one is going to be the key and one is going to be the value. Now, we talked about these things. You may be a little confused. So let's do a recap and let's actually see some of these in action. All right, let's kind of stitch it all together. So first and foremost, these are variables, and different types of variable types you can have in Python. What's a variable? A placeholder for some other type of value. These in blue are your variables. You see this little icon right here? Let me move myself right there. Icon right there. That one, that icon, memorize it. Anytime you see that icon, it means it's a variable, all right? You'll see this more as we move forward, and you'll understand why. That's really nice that I told you that. Anything in blue is going to be a variable. A variable is just a placeholder for some type of data. This placeholder can be named whatever the hell you want it to be. Whatever the hell I want this shit to fucking be. All right? It can be however long you want it to be. All right? It does not matter. Do not get caught up on the concept like that. But it's just something you can dictate. Now, in math, oh no. Math. In math, they are very unoriginal. Mostly because when you're writing with a pen or a pencil, it would be cancer if you had to type this out or write it out. So instead, math people, math magicians, that's their proper term, are also very lazy people, just like programmers. We have a lot in common. So what they will use instead, their brilliant creative minds came up with the standard format of X and Y and Z and B and A and C. Does this bring back some memories of math class? Does it hurt a little bit? You are using math, even though you don't think you are. You are using it. Alright, math people are unoriginal and unfun. Alright, so they use boring letters like that. It's the same concept in math as it is in programming. Except in programming, we're cooler. So we use better names. Alright. So, once you have variables here, again, these are placeholders. So we can use something like the print statement to kind of expose these placeholders and show the original underlying value. For example, let's say I want to print out my cool list because I like my list and I think it's super cool. If I want to print it, I can say print, that's the action, the function that we're running here. And inside the parentheses, we're going to put what we want to print out. We want to print out my cool list. So if I go and save that and press F5, it will automatically run. And you'll see here in the terminal that I have my cool list printed out. See the similarities? Of course, you're not going to see the variable name because that's just there as a placeholder visually so you can keep track of what everything is. Any questions on that? If you're having issues with syntax or anything like that, do not ask questions in the chat here. Take a screenshot of it and put it in the 100 days of rootkit because it's going to be very hard for me to debug any issues that you're having if you're posting it into the chat. Especially for invalid characters, because how am I supposed to know which character is invalid? Alright. We're about at break time. So you challenge during break time. I want you guys just to go through and take each one of these variables that you made and just go ahead and paste them and print them out and see what happens. Alright, go one by one and just see what happens. Maybe mess around with them a little bit more. I don't know, be creative. And when we get back, we'll continue forward with talking about print variables and particularly how we can manipulate things like strings, lists, and tuples and our dictionary here, and why we went through all that weird setup to make it formatted the way it is. All right, Kawaii, let me know if you have any questions, issues. Post them in the 100 days of rootkit if you run into any errors. All right, I will see you guys in 3 to 5 minutes. Alrighty, I am back. Alright, so before moving forward, in the Discord, right here in the 100 Days of Rootkit chat, the code has been posted in here of what we have so far. So if you're confused, having issues, anything of that sort, you can just come over here and copy and paste and steal what I got. Alright, get used to doing that. I want you to do this, alright? Stealing is good in programming. At least as long as you're not breaking any licenses, alright? There is no licenses to this, so go ahead and take it, alright? My gift to you, alright? So if you're not already in the Discord, make sure you're in the Discord. At the end of almost every one of these streams, we are going to be posting the code in the supporters chat of everything we talked about. Today will be a freebie day, so I'll post everything here in the 100 Days of Rootkit, but moving forward, it's going to be in the supporters chat. So if you want to be a supporter, you can go over here to Discord and you can become a Discord premium member, or you can go over to our Patreon and subscribe there, and that's how you can get access to supporter chat. In Patreon, the bit tier will not give you access to the supporter chat in Patreon, but in Discord it will. Alright, there's also a 1 week free trial. So if you want to just get a week free of access, you can go ahead and just start that free trial. Alrighty. So, quick recap before we move forward. We're Rootkit, a non-profit based here in the US of A, and we like doing things for free, like this class. Typically, if you go to college, all the information we're giving would cost you $100,000 here in the US of A. But we're doing it for free. We usually charge $20K. We also have an issue with giving away other free stuff, like free merch. Our week 5 giveaway just ended, but at the end of today's class, we're going to have the week 6 giveaway up, live, and active. So you can go ahead and enter to participate in that, and it's just basic things like, what do you call it? Subscribing to our YouTube channel, following our Twitch, etc., etc. Additionally, if you do like what we're doing and you want to help support us further than Patreon and so forth, you can go over to this link, which I'll post into the channels here. Further than Patreon. Oh no. You can go over to this link. Silence, fool. There we go. And you can donate. Depending on how much you donate, you can unlock certain rewards, like our stickers, this epic collab t-shirt here, and our awesome sweater. We have a donor who's matching donations 1-for-1 for the first 10,000 donations. So that's super epic. Also, we have pillars here that we can reach, like teaching for 24 hours straight, which may be useful for those of you who really want to catch up on anything that we talked about programming wise that may have confused you. Next is shaving my head here live on stream, and the one we don't need to get to is shaving my beard. No one wants to see that except for my family. All right, let's see any questions we got. Can't find the folder I made now. Just make a new folder. You can, when you do open folder, you can do right click and just make a new folder and then make that your new folder. The folder is not anything special. All right, there's nothing special that comes with it. It's just any generic folder. It's just a convenient place to keep all your code. If you want to be a madman and keep all your code in the documents folder raw, you can do that, all right, mixed with all the rest of your documents. Alrighty, let's see here. So we talked about all these different types of variables. Before we move forward though, we have a really good video that I want to play that we made that will help just solidify variables a little bit, but also the naming schemes and the rules around how you are supposed to name your variables. All right, so let's go ahead and pull up our channel here, and let's go ahead and find the let's do what is a variable and camel case, just to really enforce this. So I'm gonna go ahead and... A variable is a placeholder for some type of value. Specifically in programming with Python, a variable can consist of letter, word, phrase, numbers, underscores, or a Frankenstein mess of the previous items, which is a placeholder for some type of value. Think back to math for just a second. I promise it won't hurt. The expression 10 equals 7 plus x. X is a variable, which means it is a placeholder for the value 3. Got it? No? Alright, that's fine. Here's another example. Y equals 7 plus my amazing variable. My amazing variable is a variable, which means it's a placeholder for the value 3. Got it? No? Okay, fine. Here's another example. 10 equals 7 plus I hate my life. The Frankenstein mess I hate my life is a variable, which means it is a placeholder for the value 3. Got it? All variables in Python need to start with either a letter or an underscore. They can never start with a number. Don't even think about trying it yourself. If you do, your computer will probably explode. See these variables on screen now? You know who made them? Developers who are sleeping forever now. Don't be a casualty of invalid variable names. I love you and I don't want you to die. Very wise words there, all right? Don't put numbers at the beginning of your variable names, all right? Bad things will happen to you. You don't want to find those out, all right? It gets ugly really quick, all right? And here's one last thing we're going to watch. Camel cases and ropes. We're going to the Middle East for this one, all right? Camel Case is sadly not a mystery novel about a missing camel. I know, disappointing, but don't worry, I'll disappoint you even more when I explain what it is. Camel Case is in reference to how you should capitalize your variables' names. It's a system you can use in order to make sure there's some type of order in all that spaghetti code you're writing. Also, Camel Case has a variation called Upper Camel Case, basically the upper class version of it. See these words here on screen? They're all in camel case format. As you can see, the first letter of every word after the first word is capitalized. So the T and the B here, the S and the W, and so forth. You can see it, right? Also, anything that's an organization like the WWE will always be all caps. Easy, right? Well, stick with me closely, because I might lose you when I'm talking about upper camel case. All these words here are in upper camel case. As you can see, the first letter of every single word is capitalized. So the H, the T, and the B, the Y, the S, the W, and so forth. And here's a comparison between camel and upper camel case. Can you see the difference? Right? You can see the difference, right? I know. These are pretty hard concepts to understand, but I got you through it, right? Hey, I do take tips, so throw me a 20. I don't take anything less than that. Don't you screw me over. You hear me? You guys can screw me over though during this. We're desperate for money. You can send $1. I'll accept that now, just to fill up that bar at the top there. Oh, why aren't you guys making more videos like those? Those were fun and really good. Because they're expensive. Paying a video editor is expensive. So if you donate, we're able to do more. All right, we need generous donors to help fund our expensive costs. Because I can get away with not collecting a paycheck on my end, which is what we do. No one at Rootkit collects any type of paycheck whatsoever except for Kote. He is our only paid employee. Everyone else is working at a deficit and a loss, so please help. Video editors are things we don't really have on staff, so we need dinero for that. All right, any questions on what we just watched there? Hopefully it clarified things a little bit. So if we look here at the code, you'll notice that I'm using lower camel case, aka normal camel case, for these right here, and I'm using upper camel case for this one. Upper camel case is not proper for normal variable names, so it's in Python. It's recommended you use normal camel case. Okay, so this would be Blaze at 420 with a lowercase b. There's also this thing called snake case. All right, slitherly snake. So your mama would be like this in snake case. Snake case, you're pretty much always going to use all lowercase letters with underscores between everything that would have a space naturally between it, which is different because camel case is going to not have a space or an underscore between things that would normally have a space. It's just going to use a capital letter. All right, capital letter between words and terms. Snake case is not proper for Python. Do not catch me seeing you use snake case. Snake case is something that's utilized in other languages like C/C++. Python over the years has turned into a complete mess because everyone was on the program early on that it's going to be utilizing camel case. But through the years, anyone can contribute to the packages that are available for Python. And so now we have a mix between both of the cases. And it's very confusing and inconvenient at times to figure out or remember things because people want to do whatever the hell they want to do. All right, it's very frustrating and angering, but guess what? That's how it is, because again, in programming and computer science in general, there are no codes, laws, anything that can adhere you to a standard. You are not going to be put in jail, fined, etc. You can do whatever you want. It is literally the Wild West and has been the Wild West for 50 years since most mainstream programming languages have existed. All right. Any questions on that? Let's go ahead and turn on our chill music. So let's go over some of the variables here a little bit more that we showed off and talked about. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this print. And just to show, we can go ahead and print your mama. And right below this one, I'm going to print, and I'm going to do this for every single one. I'm just going to do a print, blaze it. I'm going to do a print my cool string. I'm going to do a print my cool list. A print my, any guesses on what this will look like in the terminal? It's not a trick question. And print Wikipedia. When we run this in the terminal, whoops. When we run this in the terminal, it's going to do exactly what you think it would do. It's just going to be printing each one of these variables we have created here in the terminal. So we're going to get all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines of these variables printed out. So if we go and run F5, you're going to see we got them all just printing out here. All right, nothing super fancy. Now we're going to introduce our second action. All right, we're going to get through, I think, 3 actions today, and then maybe we'll call it good for today's first intro class. So the next action is going to be called the type action. What does the type action do? The type action will tell you what type of variable that is. All right, I know we've already talked about what type of variable it is, but this is how you can confirm, because there will be times where you will not know the type and you might want to check it out or figure it out. And so this is how you can go about figuring out and confirming what the type of the variable is. So actions, before we get into this, actions can be compounded on top of each other. I can, throw a punch and then make it into an uppercut. All right, so I'm moving forward with my punch and then changing it to move upward at the same time. Or maybe I'm doing like jump rope and I'm, moving my hands, which is moving the rope, and I'm jumping at the same time. I can stack actions on top of each other to make more powerful movements in real life. Same thing with your functions. You can put functions or stack them on top of each other, more so like Inception style, in order to compound their effectiveness. What do I mean by that? Inside of the print function here, so inside of these parentheses, I can run the type function. So what is the type function? We type in type, and then to activate it, we need to do parentheses. So we'll need to do parentheses here and here. We're going to wrap your mama around these parentheses for the type action. All right. So as you can see, we are compounding this action. We have 2 actions happening. It looks like at once, but there is an order of operations. All right. Anything in the innermost parentheses will first be resolved. and you'll move outwards from there. So anything with your mama will be resolved first. So your mama will change from the variable to the actual number here. All right. Type will then be ran. All right. And this is going to tell us what type of variable your mama is. And then that type of variable it is going to be printed to the terminal. All right. So let's go ahead and see that in action here. If I rerun by pressing F5, you're going to see right here that it's telling us that its type is class int. Don't worry about class too much. We'll get to that later. But the big thing is it's an integer. int is short for integer. We talked about this before. It's all coming back right now. So this is how we can confirm what type of variable it is. All right. If you were, and you can go ahead and experiment with this. Look, no one's stopping you from messing around with these two and how you compound them, however you want to go about messing with these. Just to show, if I run this on its own line, so if I run type on its own line and I remove this print here, it will still run. So if I run this right now, whoops, F5, there we go. It will still, this function will still run and get executed. Even though we don't see anything printed here on the terminal anymore in regards to the type, it's still running and being executed. These were what we would call inefficiencies potentially in your code. So make sure you don't have those, or else your code is going to run for a longer amount of time than it needs to. Also, by default, nothing will be printed to the terminal unless it's wrapped in a print function. All right, so let me bring that back. So we got our print function there, and you can do this for all of these guys below. So I'm just going to do it for just two more. Whoops, ruined that. So remember, you have to have a beginning and an ending parentheses. So if you're copying and pasting, which I highly recommend you do, make sure you add that end parentheses. Additionally, some other shortcuts that you may or may not be aware of. We talked about Control S for saving your file. You need to do that, all right? It's very, very quick. Next, please, for the love of God, do not highlight and then right click and then go over here and click on copy and then go somewhere else, right click and then click on paste. You see these right here? These are going to be your shortcuts for them. Control C is for copying. Control V is for pasting. Use those. They are very fast and very efficient. You can just copy by highlighting, pressing Control C, and then paste with Control V. All right. I'm going to be using shortcuts. If you're wondering why or how I'm going so fast, one, because I do this a lot, but two, because I'm using shortcuts. So utilize shortcuts so you can also be blazing fast like me. All right. So if we rerun this, we only did this for, oops, I gotta do F5. We only did this for the first three here, but you can see here, we're getting the types for each one of these printed out. Int is the first one, float is the next one, all right, and string is the last one. All right, makes sense. We already talked about how those are. If you want, you can experiment and put type at the end of these ones below that we didn't do, and you can kind of mess with their type. All right, check them out, do some experimentation yourself. Let's see here, questions. This part, but then you go so fast, it's hard to keep up. All right, if I'm going too fast, let me try to slow down a little bit. My bad. Again, all this code will be put into the 100 Days of Rootkit chat for today, and then moving forward, it will be in the supporter chat in Patreon. So you can get it from there if you are a supporter. All right. Let's, are we all good on this? Let us see here. We're going to learn one more action today, all right? One more action to kind of entertain you, all right? And kind of tease you for the game, our first game that we're going to build. Not tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to be, yeah, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be our chill day, where it's just chill Q&A. So if you have questions from today lecture, you can just ask them tomorrow and we can go over them. Monday, we'll finish up our first game. I know, exciting. You guys are going to be moving real quick. So to help entertain you, we talked about how you can print onto the screen. You can print into the CLI here, right? And you can see everything that shows up. Yeah, I know already. Yep, games are very easy to make, especially in Python. When we get to SeaWorld, you're gonna hate everything. Hello there, Miller. All right. So, what was I saying? So we know how to print, aka output. Remember input, output? We talked about that before. Printing. All right, we're outputting something onto the CLI. We can also do the reverse of that. We can get input from the user. We can grab input from the CLI. How do we do that in Python? That is a great question, right? I'm going to go ahead and, before actually moving on, pound sign, hashtag sign, whatever you want to call it, is how you comment things out. In VS Code, if you highlight things and hold Control, and then click the question mark or the slash key, they're both right beside each other. That's how you can comment large blocks of code. If you want to uncomment them, you can just highlight them and press Control and question mark again. Also, I think you can do, no, I don't, there's some other ones that you can do also for them, but this is the best one. This is the most superior and the only one you should be using in VS Code because it's toggleable. What does that mean? You can press it once to comment and again to uncomment. All right, super nice. There's some other shortcut in here that's like cancer, like one is to comment and then you need to know the other one to uncomment. I don't know why you would do that when you can just sit there and toggle. So you don't need to go to the beginning of your stuff and comment them out like so on. All right, you can just toggle it. So I'm going to comment all of this code right now. Why? Because I don't want it to run, so we can be just super clear of what we're going to do. And to show that when things comment or are commented out, nothing happens. If I rerun this right now, you'll see nothing gets printed out to the terminal. It looks like nothing pretty much happened because it's all commented out. So I'm doing this again just so this won't run, so we can just be really clear on what I'm about to go over next. So at the very end of the file here, we're gonna go over our new action. All right, so to get input from someone, we need a little bit of a setup, all right? Let me see here. All right, I think Kote's helping right now. All right, so first we need to have a variable. We need to make a variable that we want to save the user's input to. So I don't know, let's call this one saved input. Again, this is a variable. You can name it whatever you want. All right, I'm just naming it this because we're saving input to it. It kind of makes sense. All right, we're using camel case, so S is gonna at the beginning is gonna be lowercase, and then the I, where we typically have a space, is going to be capitalized. We cannot have spaces. All right, you cannot do tax. You cannot do anything except for underscores and numbers. I feel like there's actually one more, but I can't remember right now. All right, so this, we're just going to make it equal to something. It does not matter. You can have as a number, as whatever. I will typically either just put it as a blank string, all right? Because we want user input to go into this. We want to save it to it, and so we'll just make it as a blank string. We have to give it some type of a value initially, or else Python will be mad at us. As you can see here, it's mad at us. So you have to, even though we're not using this value, we have to give it initial value. All right. So next is the new action we're going to learn called input. Input. This is how, oh, thank you for the follow, my dude. That is Dmitry Maxov Galara. What a epic name, my god. All right, sweet. Let's move on here. So input, all right. Input is the action we can take. It's the function we can run in order to collect input from a user on the CLI down here. All right, so let's kind of see how that works. Now, input, again, you can hover over this and it will give you some extra information when we're in VS Code. We can give input a string at the beginning of here, and that string, let me see if the mouse will let me do it. There we go. The string will become the prompt. This may look very confusing to you. Don't worry, it's confusing to me. Don't get too caught up on this. Just memorize what I'm telling you, which is what I'm telling you right now is if you do not have to put a string inside of input, but if you do put a string inside of input, it will show up in the command prompt. We'll go through both examples. So I'm going to do it like this, and we'll see why in a second. And then I'm going to print saved input. All right. There's going to be a plot twist here in a second. All right, ready? So again, this is going to be the variable we're going to save the input to. This is us collecting input, and this is us printing that variable. All right. Let's see what happens when we run this. So I'm going to press F5. And right now you'll see that that little arrow and a space has printed out here, because that's what will happen if you put a string inside of input. It will print here to the on the line whatever you put there, and then now it's waiting. The program is still running. It is stuck. It's stuck because it's waiting for me to enter some type of input. So let's go ahead and type in some input. Let's say, I don't know, whatever you want. Hello there. And I'm going to press enter. After doing that, you'll see the program has finally ended, and it printed out. It printed out nothing. Why did it do that? Well, I'll explain here in a second. Is there any questions before moving forward? Yeah, how did I read that so well yet trip over some of the most basic words? Look, if I knew that answer, I would be in a better place, all right, with my English classes, all right? I can't explain, all right? Those videos that we watched, yeah, those videos where I seem like I'm literate, yeah, those videos took like 20 re-records for me to actually get through everything without stumbling, all right? It's all an illusion. In real life, I can barely function when communicating with another human, all right? Q&A, yeah, I don't know what that is reference. Maybe I just read that a little late. All right, so we got some issues going on here, mostly because we didn't get the input that we entered printed out. Before we figure that out, let's just mess with input here a little bit more. Again, like I said, you don't need anything in here. So if we rerun this, you'll see it's hanging right here. It's waiting for my input. It just doesn't print anything out initially. So I can just type in something like that, and bam, now it executes. Additionally, this is just a string. Strings can be as long as you want in Python. So I can be like, enter a super cool number in here, loser. There we go, and I can type that. Usually you always want to put a space at the end. If you don't put a space at the end, I'll show you what it will look like. So now it will print that out, and since we didn't put a space at the end, when I start typing, it's going to be right there against the exclamation mark. All right, so that's why it's nice to kind of put a space at the end if you are collecting input from the user. It just looks a little nicer. Additionally, you'll see in a lot of those older programs, those cool hacker ones you might have seen in movies, they'll do things like a colon space, or the what do you call it, the arrow space, or maybe 2 arrows space, because it just looks nicer. All right, there's nothing cool or elite about it. It just looks better, right? We don't get very many pretty graphics when we're programming, right? So when we can, we want things to look at least kind of nice, you know? We don't need to torture ourselves. So I'm gonna just do a colon in a space. This time rerun just to enforce it's going to print. We got a colon, now it has a space, so it kind of looks a little bit better, and we can type in our input and press enter. Cool. Why is the input not saving? Great question. Functions have actions that are taken. They do something. But functions also can report, all right? They can report back to you the action that they took and what occurred when they took that action, all right? It's called a return, all right? They can return some type of status, some type of data to you, all right? So input is running 100% successfully, and it is returning a report back to us. It's returning what the user here has typed in. We're not accepting that return currently in our program. To accept the return, the status report that we're getting from the input function that we ran, we need to say saved input equals the input function that is being executed. What's happening here is this is going to run first. It's going to perform its action. Once it's done, it's going to write up a little report saying, hey, boss, blah, 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 blah. Here's what the user has given me, and it will return it back to you. When it's returning or giving you that report, all right, you need to save it. You need to save it off somewhere for later use. How can you save data off for later use? We have variables. We can utilize a variable. So that's why we're saving it off into saved input. We're using the assignment operator to do that, because the assignment operator is how we can save data into a variable. You can see here, we did that a bunch. We saved off the number 1, 2, 3, 4 into this variable using the assignment operator. Same thing here. It is giving us some type of data that we're saving off. So now if we rerun this, all right, and we type in, hello there, friend. I'm not a loser. I'm so sad now. Cry, cry, cry. Ah, so sad. If we press enter now, you'll see that our input actually gets printed out. Super awesome. Super, super awesome. So now we have the potential beginnings of a super cool program. All right. And that's what we'll get into on Monday when we start talking about logic. We talked about logic a lot. We talked about it in basic math. We talked about it in hardware with NOT gates, AND gates, etc., etc. And now we're going to do it more in here. So this return doesn't have to be saved off. All right. If you want, oh, excuse me. Oh, that was rough. All right. If you want, you can just print this out directly. What do I mean by that? Let's go ahead and paste input here. And I'm just going to say, enter a number. All right. And I'm going to wrap this because, again, we can compound our actions on top of each other. So what's going on here, and this is also applicable to type. We didn't go over on type, but this is the same reason why type works here. Input will run and get input from the user. Once it has that input, it's going to return what the user typed. It's going to be reporting back. That report back can be saved off, or it can just be acted upon immediately, which is what we're doing here. We're not saving it off. We're just immediately going to print that to the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and comment these ones out. So only this one is going to run. All right. And if I run this, you'll see it says enter a number. I'm a rebel. So I'm going to type in rebel power. All right. Not a number because we don't have any logic in here to enforce a number. We're just asking them nicely to put a number in. So if I press enter now, you'll see that rebel power gets printed out because it is returning what I entered in to, and then print is going to print it out. All right. It's sending that report, that status report, that return to print, and then print is going to act upon it. The downfall here is we're not saving it off. All right. So saving things off are usually going to be more beneficial for the program that we're running. I don't know. It always depends on what you're trying to do. Any questions on that? Any questions at all? Make sure YouTube is working here and refresh this one. YouTube does not like me switching between Twitch. All right. Sweet. So, quick recap. We talked about variables. Variables are just placeholders for some type of value. All right. What that value is, you make it up. It's your world. All right. You are, excuse me, maybe for tomorrow's Q&A. Perfect. That's what the Q&A is for tomorrow. So, variable is a placeholder for some type of value, some type of data. What that data is, you get to make it up, whatever you want. You just have to choose what is allowed in the programming language. So we got integers, floats, strings, lists, tuples, dictionaries, a lot of stuff in Python that you can use, right? Let's see here. Additionally, we can run things called functions, which are actions you can take, right? They're something you can do and get some type of result. The result will not be always super nice and flashy like print is. Print is a super cool function we learned on how to print something to the CLI, to the terminal. All right, print is really fun. You can see visually what is going on. Not all actions are like that. A lot of them are invisible. So you won't really see the fruits of your labor until you do print something out. We learned about another action, aka function called type. All right. When you use type, that will tell you what type of data that variable is. So whether it's an integer, whether it is a string, a tuple, a list, whatever. That's its whole job. It can be very useful for you, especially when you're using other people's code. All right. We'll probably get into an example later on where that is very useful. Additionally, we learned about input. Very nice, because that's how we can get input from the user. That's our third function we learned today. Input, you don't have to put anything inside of here, but you can. All right. You can if you want, and if you do, it will be printed out onto the terminal. All right. So 3 types of functions we went over. We went over a couple variables. Now, on the exam, on the comp sci exam, the written part, the one that's going to be multiple choice and other types of questions, that is going to be all for the bullet point list stuff on our GitHub. So everything we've talked about prior to is that's what the test is going to be about. The second part is going to be the practical. The practical is where you have to show your knowledge of programming. You need to program out an application. All right. We will not be testing you on what a string is, what is an integer in Python, or anything specific to the language. We are going to basically tell you, make a program that does X, and you need to program it out. So whether you memorize every single thing we talk about going forward with programming or not is up to you. It may benefit you, it may not. All right. But don't get too stuck or hung up on any particular thing. Do try to memorize everything we talk about because it's important. But, you know, if you never find a good use for dictionaries, that's fine. Maybe you never really have a good use for dictionaries. Just because these are in your toolkit and available for you to utilize doesn't mean you have to utilize them. You don't want to forcefully use things that never become convenient. Now, we'll talk about dictionaries, lists, and tuples more later on when it becomes more applicable. My challenge for you guys today, after the stream, which is about to end here soon, is mess around with the 3 functions we talked about. Break some things, do something wrong. I don't know, put what will break? I don't know, do type right here. And then run this and see what happens. It's gonna yell at me. It's gonna tell me that something went wrong. Usually when you have an error go on, it's going to tell you what line it happened on, and it will usually try, this is a nicer error, it will try to tell you where exactly that error happened. Just look at the line first, and VS Code, here we go, 36. VS Code will usually help you out and tell you what's going on here. If you're confused on what is going on, just keep experimenting. Keep experimenting, keep going crazy. There's not really any good way to figure out the upper and lower limits of a programming language without messing with it in the first place. How I would resolve this is pressing enter. All right, but end thing is just mess with things, break things. All right, no harm done. Nothing that we've talked about will break your computer. We will go over and I will warn you when something we've learned may damage your computer, all right, and how to go about it more appropriately or more safely. All right, so don't worry, everything you do is going to be a-okay. So yeah, challenges, mess with the functions, make some variables. If you want, go explore maybe some new functions there. All right, new functions out in the world. Maybe do some searching, some Googling. All right, never know what you may come across. All right, that is all I got. I'm going to post all of this code in the 100 Days of Rootkit chat. Moving forward, the code will be posted in supporters only or in Patreon. So if you want the code, you can go ahead and subscribe to our Patreon or Discord Premium, and you can get it moving forward. I'm going to uncomment all of this, so if you were to run it right out of the gate, everything is going to happen all at once very quickly for you. So feel free to comment things as needed. I'm going to go ahead and leave some labels here. So there's like some discernible sections. So input example, saving off the input example, not saving off the input. All right, any other questions or things you guys may want me to do in here before I post it on 100 Days of Rootkit? Just to help you guys out. And don't worry, we're gonna be making a lot of games. All right. If you don't like games, you're gonna be in a world of pain because we're gonna be making a lot of them. But we're gonna be making a lot of games, you guys. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be entertaining. Moving forward, this is just kind of the more basic things we just got to get through here. Hopefully it wasn't too boring for you guys. I don't see any other recommendations of what you guys would want me to include in here. Maybe I'll include right here at the bottom my challenges. So that's, I thought that would work. Why is this not working? I guess not. Let me go ahead and say challenges. Challenges. I want you guys to mess around with making variables. Mess around with the 3 functions we learned about. Print, type, and input. And let's see here. Mess with them. Print the type of all the variables made above in the variable section. Alrighty. So I'll put that at the beginning or at the end here. I guess I'll move it to the beginning. So it's right front and center for you guys. There we go. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right. That is all I got for you guys. So I'm going to go and post this into the 100 Days of Rootkit chat. So now it's over in there. So you guys can go ahead and copy and paste it. And mess with that. If you did fall behind or if you weren't able to keep up with all the typing we were doing, that's fine. Definitely go ahead and just grab that, and you can just use that as the starting template. All right, sweet. That is all I got for you guys today. Tomorrow is going to be our chill Q&A session, so you can show up and ask any questions from any of the previous days or anything not even pertaining to 100 Days of Rootkit if there are no questions about 100 Days of Rootkit during that day. Also, at the end of tomorrow's stream, we will be polling our new winner for the Week 5 giveaway, the sweater. Also, after the stream, the Week 6 giveaway will be live, and I'll be sending out a message in the Discord when that does go live. Sweet, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you for showing up and supporting the stream and hanging out, and I'll see you guys on the next one.